That's it. I've had it. I hate to be dramatic, but I don't get no respect. Or at least I don't get any respect from the pizza industry. I know that you might not believe this, but it's true. The Little Caesar mascot is a real person. And I don't just mean a real person who existed in ancient Rome. No, 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 no. He's a real person. I walked inside of a Little Caesars and I was going to get the Batman calzone, and there he was. The actual Little Caesar. It wasn't a guy in a costume, it was the literal Caesar. He was bald, he was fat, he was short, he looked a lot like your dad, and he had a wreath around his head. I told him that that was a little bit insensitive because the only true king was Jesus, and then he lifted up his hand and he went to slap me before sighing and realizing that he was indeed in the wrong. He took off his wreath. Muttering under his breath, he exclaimed, "I'm just a short, bald, fat guy." I gave him a pat on the back, not realizing that his spear was there. Apparently, spear carrying, unconcealed, was legal in this jurisdiction, so I did get stabbed right in the fucking hand with a spear. Blood splurted all over the place onto the pizzas, and before I could say anything about it, the cashier went ahead and put the pizza in a box and it went out somewhere. I guess that's not important. What is important is that I had a conversation with the guy. Where was he from? He was from Philadelphia. He was a part of an old Roman community near Frankfurt neighborhood in Philly. I asked him what happened to his wife and child, and they were gone. I asked him if that meant that there was a tragic accident. No, they divorced him and took him for the pizza alimony. I asked about the baby, who at this point should be an adult. Said he hasn't seen his son in years. Just like yesterday, they were in a rock and roll band in a television commercial. You know, you might know the one if you remember back in the 90s. Pizza, pizza, mo pizza, banana, fana, fo pizza. As it turned out, they got sued because they didn't put any banana on the actual pizza. That was considered false advertising. That's what led to the divorce. I posited that it might have had something to do with carrying the spear around, potentially killing his child, and him being unwilling to hand it over to the police or the government might be an issue. He said, he's on some government watch lists. When he steps onto the airport, they try to confiscate his spear, but he tells them that it's a therapy spear, and that makes it okay. I lit up a faggot, that means cigarette, and I got kicked out of the restaurant for smoking. And also the word I used to refer to the cigarette as was, we weren't in England. Neither was he. He wasn't from England. He'd never been. So what I did, feeling a bit sorry for Little Caesar, is I gave him something. I was going to go see the World Cup, which was to be held in London, soccer or football for you foreigners. And he went on a vacation in my stead, in my steed, and I went ahead and I flew all the way out to Frankfurt in Philadelphia to try to smooth things over with Little Caesar's wife. When she saw me, she opened the door and slammed it right in my face, and it landed right on my nose. Blood splurted all the way through the door. She started giggling, and then she opened up the door. I guess it was her fetish or something. That might explain why she married Little Caesar. He has a really large nose, as do a lot of the Little Caesars who live in Philadelphia. She invited me for a cup of tea, and I noticed that it tasted rather delicious. It was a delicious shade of red. Oh no, I was drinking my blood. I asked her why she put blood in the tea, and she said that that was her fetish. In fact, she didn't always have that fetish, but it was because she ate a slice of pizza that had blood squirted all over it. She thought it was like one of those old oatmeal things where they had those raspberry swirls on top of the oatmeal. She thought that it was some sort of raspberry pizza, and hell, she was adventurous. I mean, some weirdos eat pineapple on their pizza, she said. So she thanked me. I told her the real reason I was there, and that I was there to repair her marriage with the old Little Caesar. Now, she did get a little bit angry. I could tell because her head started going off like a tea kettle. I even heard a kettle whistle noise. No, that was just her going to get more tea. She told me that I had to excuse her because she was going to go get more tea. I didn't know what to do. Should I follow her into the kitchen and see what's going on in there? Where's the blood coming from? Was she like some sort of little Caesar vampire Frankenstein? Well, I waited about 5 minutes or more. She didn't come back. I got nervous, got a little scared. A little scared, not too scared, but a little enough because if something happened, shit, and the police came, they'd think that I murdered her. I don't want to go to jail or prison. That's jail if you end up in jail for more than a year. They send you to prison instead of just the county jail. I know from personal experience because, well, there's a reason I know so much about blood and blood fetishes. I opened the door and she wasn't dead. In fact, she was dressed in the sexiest lingerie I've ever seen a pizza mascot woman dressed in. She told me that the only way she would consider getting back with her husband would have been if I fucked her on her kitchen floor. I felt a little bit frizzled and unkempt. In fact, my hair, the few hairs that I have, I kind of look like Homer Simpson. I began shrieking and ran out the door. In fact, it was so scary. It reminded me of that intro to The Simpsons where Homer is shrieking, trying to avoid being hit by a car. It's being driven by his baby. Some things just don't make sense in life. Or at least that's what I thought. Oh, I ran out the door and she chased me down the street. We jumped over manholes. There was a paper boy. Reminded me of the classic video game Paper Boy, throwing papers through people's windows. Apparently that's normal in Frankfurt, Philadelphia. Eventually she found me and I agreed to do the nasty. The cops are actually rather busy in the Frankfurt neighborhood, so they didn't really mind us having sex in public. I zipped up my pants and I asked her if she'd get back with her husband, and she said she was a woman of her word. Word? Well, these days I'm not doing so well because I fell in love with the pizza, as sung by the late Jonas Brothers. I fell in love with the pizza girl, and now I could eat pizza every day. In fact, that's what I do. Every single day I eat pizza. I now weigh 576 pounds. I'm still waiting for the day that she leaves him. Oh well, you know what they say. No good deed goes unpunished. Oh, you know what else they say too? Well, let me tell you. It goes a little something like this. Pizza, pizza.